I've been trying to get this podcast off for at least a week. And I'm like, I just want to talk to my people, man. I just want to talk to my people. I had so much stuff that I felt like I needed to get off my chest, and I just, for whatever reason, the kids were sick. Look, let's get into the show. I can explain everything. I got a drink here. I don't usually drink during the week, but I think this one deserves a tequila on the rocks. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I say we chop it up tonight, get a little late night Louie in, and we have a damn good time. This one's been long overdue. So let's get into it. Y'all know what it is. LouieTeeNetwork podcast starts now. Who else could it be but me? Your man, Louie T. Welcome to the 316th installment, the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So let's talk about some things first before we even get into the show. And for those of you who have come for football talk, this portion of the show is not for you. Come back in 15, maybe 20 minutes. I got some shit I just want to talk about. I just want to shoot the shit for a second. So, first things first. You guys know that I went on a vacation. And personally, I think what me and my wife have discovered, my wife is an avid traveler. She's changed my life probably in that way more so than any other way. She's changed my life in so many different ways. She is truly my better half. But from a traveling standpoint, she has broadened my horizons. I didn't even have a passport until she came into my life. So clearly I didn't have any stamps. I hadn't been out of the country, none of that. All of that changed when I met my wife. So to me, she is one of the biggest reasons that I travel as often as I do. And I think really what I've figured out is traveling and going on vacation and enjoying the fruits of your labor, but just all that life has to offer. I think that is a necessity. You know, one of the things that I can't stand is when you go on one of those trips that they promise you when you go to like a kiosk and they say, hey, you know, we'll send you on for one of these trips. What it really is, it's a timeshare trip. They're trying to get you to buy a timeshare. Hey, we're giving you 3 days, 2 nights, essentially free. All you got to do is pay $59. We'll send you to Florida on this nice little resort. Have a great time. It's on us. And you're thinking, this is great. Till you get there and you got to go to these damn, excuse me, sessions where they're trying to pitch you on buying a timeshare. And you tell them, no, you're not interested. Then they tell you, but hey, hold on. Let you talk to my superior. And then they come in and they offer a rebuttal and you tell that person no. And then they say, okay, let me go get my superior. And then another person comes in and they offer a rebuttal. And then you tell that person no. And then they say, are you sure? Well, I've told you no 57 times already. So I think I'm sure I don't want your damn timeshare. Anyway, I digress. You know what they tell you, though? One of the lines that they have to sell you on the trip is that you need a vacation. Your family needs a vacation. It should be something that you should budget for on a yearly basis. That part of the discussion is absolutely factual. So I think trips are essential. Vacation more so than anything else. Not necessarily going on a trip. That might not be your thing. But vacations, getting away from everything, having an opportunity to unplug, if you need to reconnect, unwind, get away from the hustle and bustle of everything. I do think that is very healthy. Anyway, we went on a vacation, and me and my wife, we have discovered that at this point of our lives, there are 3 modes of transportation, or rather vacation, that make the most sense for us. And I think, honestly speaking, I don't really care where you are in life. I think you'll find that these are the best 3 ways to travel. But again, to each its own. I can tell you this much. If we're going somewhere, it's probably going to be one of these vacation methods. 1, cruises, especially the ones that are all inclusive. 2, all inclusive resorts. You can't beat them. Okay. We went to Tulum in Mexico, all inclusive. Oh my God. But that was last year. Oh my God. Or was that 2 years ago? I think it was 2 years ago. Amazing. And then cabin trips are the 3rd, right? Can't go wrong with a cabin, man. Secluded from everyone. Whether it's you and your loved one, or it's you and a group of friends, couples retreat, whatever. We've been on just about anything you could think of cabin wise, and it never fails to deliver. I thought that was the best way to vacation during COVID. It was like, I don't want to be around people, but I need to get away. I'm going stir crazy sitting in the house. Take a cabin trip. That's how we discovered the cabin trip, really, was during COVID. And we loved it so much that now that we're no longer really concerned about COVID, it's like, why not go on a cabin trip? This last trip that we went on was a cruise. Before I get to my cruise story and talk about cruises, when we got back from our trip, our kids, remember I told you guys before I left, or was this after I came back? I think it might have been after I came back. It was after I came back. And my kids were shitting everywhere. I changed so many diapers. We had a bug run through the house. And I'm like, golly, we just got over the flu. These kids, I'm telling you, man, these twins are something else, specifically my son. My daughter, without giving out too much information, her immune system is better than my son's. Let's just say her milk, the milk that she receives has been better than the milk he has received, or she's gotten more of it. I'll just say that. Anyway, I digress. He gets sick, it seems like, every time he changes environments. And I told you, when kids get sick, the shit hits different. It's like, damn it, man. What the hell is this? So he got the flu the last time, passed it to my older son, who then passed it to his mom, who then passed it to me, and we were all on the struggle bus, except for my twin daughter, right? She was like, what the hell's wrong with all of you? She was good. This time around, we switched daycare providers. We had a daycare from hell. So we got out of that situation. We were so happy to get into the new situation. And 2 days in, he's sick. Like, come on, dude. Seriously? Like, we just got back from the trip. Everything's like, we were dead ass tired, exhausted. I'm going to get into all of that. And now he's sick. I mean, he was exorcist throwing up. I'd never seen that much throw up come out of a kid before. It was ridiculous. My daughter threw up that night. The next morning, they wake up. He takes 5 dumps. She takes 4. And then she was done. She was like, all right, I'm good, Dad. He continued to be like out of it, not himself, lethargic, didn't want to eat, so forth and so forth. She was like, hey, I'm good. What we getting into? And I'm like, not much. Your brother doesn't feel well. So I keep them home Thursday. They don't go to daycare. That's the day they lit me up for 9 dumps, right? Thursday night, we go to bed and we wake up Friday and my oldest son doesn't feel well, or the older son doesn't feel well, right? He starts throwing up. He's never thrown up before, ever. So this is like news to us. So he's got the bug and he doesn't feel well. Saturday, wife doesn't feel well. I start to not feel well on Saturday and I'm like, oh, hell, here we go. And I'm getting pissed because since I've turned vegan, I don't have these issues. I don't get sick like everyone else does. You may get sick. I may feel, not myself, but my under the weather isn't the same as your under the weather. And since these kids have gotten sick, my immune system ain't meant shit. I've been getting just as sick as everybody else, and I'm not used to it. So this time around, mentally, I prepared myself. Hey, I'm about to get my ass kicked. My wife is over here on the struggle bus. Kids are already gone through it. I'm next in line. I'm going to stand up, be a man about mine, and take what's coming. I know it's coming. So I went to my oldest son's birthday party. And we were on the way back from that. I could feel my body getting chills and I was getting a little hot. And I was like, okay, here we go. All right. I feel the shit setting in. So mentally, I prepared myself. I had a half a Chipotle bowl left from the day before. And all day long, I was like, I'm going to fuck that shit up when I get home. Like, I can't wait to eat. On the way back, I start feeling like garbage. I get home. I prepare the Chipotle bowl. And I take 2 bites. I don't want any of it. So, okay. Appetite's going away. I got kind of the chills. Temperature has already elevated. Yeah, this thing is going south fast. So mentally, I prepared myself. Like, all right, it's your turn, bro. You up. So I did everything I could to prepare myself. And surprisingly, that was the worst of it. My immune system said, I heard you talking shit, bro. I heard you. And he stepped up and did what he was supposed to do. And I had a little bit of a temperature. My sleep was broken that night. But if that's the worst I have to complain about, I got a little bit of cough and stuff right now. But if that's the worst that I've got, I got no complaints. Okay. So everybody's good now. I got a little cough. Wife's got a little cough, nothing major. And so I want to rewind a bit now. So that's why I hadn't been able to get this podcast off, right? Because kids were home, they had shit going on, and I just had to take the L. But I want to go back to the trip, okay? So we go on a cruise, and I need y'all to understand that for me right now, and I'm going to stop doing this soon because I got to understand that I can't be giving these companies free advertisement on my show. So I'm about overdoing that. People got to start paying me for this shit. But I will say that right now, if you're of the age of, first of all, if you've never been on a cruise, you should explore different cruise lines to see which one fits your taste and your the activities that you like to do best. Okay, not all cruise lines are created equal, but when I go on a cruise, I'm trying to get lit. That's my main objective. We're going here, probably already been there before. If not, hey, I'll get off the boat, see what's going on. But my main objective is to get lit for 3-4 days straight and try not to get hungover on any of those days. If you're looking to do that, you need an all-inclusive cruise. Now, most ships don't offer that. The only one that does, to my knowledge right now, is Norwegian, which is what we use when we go cruising because, again, I'm trying to get lit. So we hit the cruise, and we drove roughly about 14 hours to Miami. That's where we were sailing out of. That was the port we were going out of. I don't know why this drive felt like the longest. Maybe because I wasn't driving. Normally I drive, but I didn't. And it felt like we stopped way too many times. But again, I wasn't driving, so I wasn't complaining. So we got down there, and it's funny because I laugh about everybody getting old, but it's true. Father Time is undefeated because it's the same crew. The people that I roll with, the people that I go on vacation with, it's the same crew, right? Family members, a mixture of family members and friends. And you've seen the evolution over time, or de-evolution, if you will. How long they can stay out, how many drinks they can have. Shit's decreasing every single year, every single trip. You go from 3 out of the 4 nights we lit, we in the building, to you getting one good night out of me. Pick a night. Is it the first night? Is it the second night? Nobody's getting lit on the third night because we know we got to leave tomorrow in the morning. So that third night is usually lights out, baby, which is understandable. Nobody wants to be hungover or struggling on the way home, and you drove 14, 15 hours. No one wants to be in a car struggling on that kind of a drive. So we got on the ship, and you're all ready for the trip. First of all, we drove to Miami, and we were supposed to hang out that first night. Didn't quite go as planned. We went to one of the DJ Khaled restaurants. I forget what it's called. Y'all know what it's called. Y'all up on this shit. I'm not. Lickin' is what it's called. Lickin'. The Lickin' or some shit like that. And food was great. Wasn't much I could eat, obviously, but it wasn't about me. And I'm thinking, all right, we're going to kick it after we leave here. Not exactly. Not exactly. We got there around 6:37. Everybody got there. Some of us changed, freshened up, whatever the case may be. And then we went to the restaurant. We were done eating every bit of 8:30, 9 o'clock. So I'm thinking, hey, if we ain't trying to step out and go to like a little lounge or something, let's just come back to the room. We pick somebody's room, and I designated our room. Hey, I brought my speaker. I got some tunes. We could put some music on. We could just kick it, right? Everybody was like, yeah, that sounds good. So we get back to the hotel, and my wife says, you know they're not coming, right? I'm like, nah, you gotta have faith. I'm on some George Michael shit. Gotta have faith. I gotta have faith. I shouldn't have had a damn thing. She knew. She already knew. She's like, come on now. You already know what's good. What's really good? You know what's really good. She said, I'm going to take a bath because I know they ass ain't coming. And my dumb ass sat there and waited. My sister, she got me. So this is how my sister got me. We're walking to the room upstairs. We get on the elevator together. We get to the room together. And my sister says, I'm about to just drop my food off. I'm going to be right over. Our rooms are right next to each other. I'm like, all right, bet. So I go in, I'm hooking up the speaker to make sure it's got charge, and I'm getting everything set up. My wife walks in and she says, you know they're not coming, right? I'm like, come on, man. They coming. What you talking about? She said, well, I'm going to take a bath because I know they're not coming. She comes out of the shower and nobody's there but me. And she's like, she just smiled. She didn't say anything. I said, you were right. They're not coming. So, of course, next morning, everybody's got excuses. I ain't trying to hit them shits. But anyway, forget about all that. We're getting on the ship. We get on the ship. And the first thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get some drinks. I'm hungry, so I need to eat first. You never want to start off a day of drinking without eating. That's a no-no. All right, that's a no-no. We get on, we get us some food. We can't go to our rooms because the rooms aren't ready. They think they slick. They didn't let us go to our rooms so we could start drinking. But there was tax that was being charged to us in Miami. And if you were able to go to your room, maybe you take a nap, maybe you don't have any drinks, maybe you only have one drink. But if they force you to go eat, what are you going to do? You're going to get drinks. Anyway, that first night, we get lit. That's what you do on the first night. To me, the first night of the trip is usually the best because everybody's down for whatever. I think what ultimately turned out to be the best night was the second night of the trip. But the first night, we was lit. We went to the club, we danced. But we drank some more, and we had fun. Second night, we met. It's crazy because I have a small circle. And generally, if you're not in my circle, you're not in the circle, right? And there's usually no new news in the circle. Like most of the people I know, we go way back. Because as I always tell you, people ain't shit. So it was just crazy. We met these people on the boat, and they were the most sincere, genuine people. We literally sat next to them, eating, like, I guess it was dinner. I guess it was right around dinner time. Maybe it was brunch. And they were cool as hell. And we ended up striking up a conversation with them, and we talked for every bit of 3 hours. I seem to do that every time I go on one of these trips. The first time we went on one of these cruises, I found a guy that was from like the UK, but he was really interested in American football. And we talked for hours on the beach at Grand. It's called Great Stirrup Cay. They got a little private beach. All these boats do, all these cruise lines do have a little private beach that they can take you to. And theirs is called Great Stirrup Cay. And literally we sat over there and we talked for hours. And then I got back on the boat. So this time it was these two people that we met. And like, it was such a great conversation. We ended up kicking it with them for a lot of the trip. Like, we kept running into them. And then it got to the point where we started planning stuff like, hey, we're going to be here. Y'all come kick it with us type of deal. We even exchanged numbers. I've been texting with them since we got back. And of all things, they're from Utah. Who would have ever thought that we would be potentially friends with people from Utah? I mean, how many black people exist in Utah? They weren't black, though. Anyway, I digress. So that night, we get lit. We go to the club. We see the people that we were kicking it with at dinner. And they ended up coming and kicking it with us. Had a good time. Celebrated. The reason we were on the cruise is my wife's best friend, one of her best friends, was her birthday. So celebrated her birthday. But this is where things get interesting, because this is where we get into drunk white people. And I don't know if you've ever experienced drunk white people, but it's the best. I love drunk white people. So here's the thing. Drunk people in general are fun. Now, you got to understand, there's drunk people on a cruise or on vacation, and then there's drunk people at the club. And they're not the same. Okay? You could step on somebody's shoes by mistake on the ship, and you're not going to get in a fight. And you don't have to worry about getting shot. That shit happens in the club, and you could mess around and get your ass beat, potentially shot. Right? It's a different type of person on vacation. For instance, I was on the elevator. We're going up, and we're having fun on the elevator. There's a grandma up here. She's lit, and she's having a good time. So we hyping grandma up. Grandma got to be like 82 years old. And they're lit, getting it in. So we hyping grandma up. And as I, go to hype grandma up, there's a girl in front of me. She was hyping grandma up too. Her hand was coming down with her drink. My hand was going up. I knocked her drink out of her hand, spills on the floor. Everybody's feet get wet. At the club, that could have been a problem for somebody, especially if you paid, $16 for that drink. Ain't nobody tripping on the boat. You already paid for that drink a long time ago. You're not seeing a tab for that. You can go get another one of those and you good, right? Ain't nobody tripping about their shoes. Most of us got on goddamn flip-flops and shit, right? Anyway, so the funny thing about drunk white people, first of all, white people in general don't give a damn about embarrassing themselves. They can't dance. They don't know what the hell's going on. They don't give a shit. They just out to have a good time most of the time. Black people, if you can't dance, you don't have no rhythm, you ain't trying to get out there and embarrass yourself. That ain't what you want. That ain't the type of time you want, right? Adding a little liquor, you might get somebody who's not usually, up to cutting a rug. You might get them out there on the dance floor a little bit, but normally it really don't matter how lit you are. If you ain't dancing, you ain't dancing, right? Not drunk white people. They out, they getting lit and they don't give a damn, And it's funny because one time we see this dude, He's pushing his wife in a wheelchair. And he's hot. He's heated. He said, I'm sick of this shit. You do this every effing time we get here. And she's in the chair like, woo! She is 2 sheets to the wind, right? Done. So much so she can't even walk. She was stumbling all over the place. She had already vomited. So husband had to go get her a wheelchair to wheel her ass upstairs into the room. And he's like livid. He's screaming at her. Hilarious stuff. Because it wasn't us. I'm at the bar trying to get a drink. And this chick, I've never met her before. And this is the beauty of going on cruises and stuff. Like, you will meet somebody the night before, have a whole conversation with them, wake up the next morning, you'll cross paths with them, and it's like they've never met you before. It's so funny. One of the people that was with us, he's like 6'6", 315, right? He looks like an offensive lineman. That's my sister's husband, right? So one dude, one drunk white person, he's all on like, oh my God, dude, you're a fucking beast, man. He kept touching him, and he's looking at him like, bro, stop touching me, right? Stop touching me. Like, you're an effing beast, man, right? And, the next morning he wakes up, he sees the same guy, and he says, what's up to him? And the dude's looking at him like, hey. And my brother-in-law is looking like, okay, clearly he doesn't remember last night. No, he doesn't. I'm at the bar. I'm getting a drink. Random chick. She's lit. Their whole group, because the beauty of a cruise is you're going to see bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. You're going to see birthdays, birthday groups. Usually this is identifiable by shirts, right? 17 people wearing the same damn shirt. You're going to run into, a girls group. This is a girls retreat. They're getting away. So this is a random chick. She's with her friends, I think. And they're having a great time. She turns around. Hey, where you from? And I'm like, Virginia. And she's like, woo, Virginia! And she's got like 5 shots in her hand. And she just gives me a shot and like, cheers to Virginia. And we take a shot. And I'm like, random as hell. Thanks for the shot. Appreciate that. And then, she starts talking to me. I'm so busy trying to get, when you're on these ships, you got to try to hustle to get your drink because everybody's at the bar trying to get a drink. So you're like, yo, I got to get mine in when I can. So she's still talking to me. I'm like listening in one ear, but I'm like really trying to get his attention so he can get my drink so I can get back to my party and kick it with my crew. And so she was like, so what are you here for? And all this stuff. We talking a little bit. And I tell her what I'm here for. I ask her what she's here for, just out of common courtesy, and she's like, yeah, it's a bachelorette party. My girlfriend right there. Yeah, Anna! Another shot. I'm like, where are you getting these shots from? Like, she turns around, hands me another shot. Anna's getting married. Woo! Boom, another shot. I'm like, where are you getting these shots from? I'm just trying to get my shots for my crew. You got 50 shots over here? Saw her the next day. She didn't remember any of it, right? None of it. Funniest group on the boat. These guys all had on shirts of their friend. Like his whole face and chest was painted. He didn't have a shirt on. And he looked like he was at a Steelers game. So, that intrigued me, right? I'm looking at this dude and he says, so I go up to him. So my wife, she's notorious for this. She gets lit on the trip. And anybody that has on matching shirts, She needs backstory, right? So I stopped the guy because he had on the shirt, and I'd seen like 4 dudes already with the same shirt on. I'm curious because I see the Steelers kind of backdrop in the background, so I'm thinking season ticket holder. He was at a Steelers game. What's the plot here? What's going on? So I had to ask. So it was a tailgate at the Steelers game. He didn't even get in because he was banned from going inside. This is a bad boy right here we talking about. So he's getting married. This was his bachelor party. So I say, what's the backstory behind the shirt y'all got on? He was like, oh man. So he couldn't go in the Steelers game because 2 weeks prior, he was at a Steelers game and he got thrown out for pissing in the sink because he was so lit. I said, oh, okay. So there was like, he was outside of the Steelers game. He had all this stuff on his body or whatever. And he ended up pissing outside in a fire, and he caught on fire a little bit. And that was the picture that they had on their shirt. I said, okay, that's 2 pissing incidents. Okay. So then he's like, then another dude that was hearing the conversation, he comes over, he's got on the same shirt. He says, yeah, this is my brother. I'm like, oh shit. I said, so your brother's a pretty infamous dude. He was like, yeah, the last time we were on Norwegian, he almost got kicked off the boat. And I'm joking, right? I said, let me guess, for pissing, right? He was like, yeah. I was like, oh, really? He was like, yeah. So dude was drunk, right? And couldn't make it to the bathroom. So he whips his shit out and pisses on the 4th, floor. They caught him on camera. The next morning, they call him up and says, hey, bro, got you on camera pissing. This shit happens again. The next time we stop the boat, your ass getting off and you got to find a way home. I said, oh, okay. So we have a habitual pisser here, right? So we finally meet the dude. We ended up, that was the first like 30 minutes within 30 minutes of being on the boat. We see these dudes, talk to them, chop it up. That's the beauty of being on a cruise, is you're going to run into them again, right? So we ran into them again. This time, the dude that's on the shirt is with him. So, we telling him about the stories we done heard about him. And he says, I'm going to let y'all know right now, somebody's getting pissed on or something's getting pissed on tonight. And all his friends are like, woo! They was already lit. We see those same dudes at the club, right? And same dude, we called him Piss Boy. We ended up calling him Piss Boy. Piss Boy is, I'm talking about stone cold out on the couch. I mean, done. And he's not a little guy, right? His brother and 2 other dudes. It takes his brother's a big dude too. Like his brother, like 6'3", probably like 250. And takes like 2 of the other dudes to lift him up off the couch because he about a solid 6, maybe 2, 6'1", 6'2", but he about 265. Like he a big dude. He's not small. He probably like more like 6'3", like his brother. About 265, 270. Big guy. They lift him up off the couch. I said, he might not make it this weekend. That was the first night. We were dancing, and you just look around at the people, and I tell you what, man, people be having so much fun. You just let go when you go on like vacation and you know you good. It's different when you at home. You got to worry about how you going to get home driving on. When you're on the boat, you don't have to worry about how you're going to get home. You just got to worry about how I'm going to get back to my room. That's the problem of the group. But that should be solved already, because somebody going to make sure you're good, right? Like, I'm never going to allow myself to get drunk enough to the point where my wife ain't good. She's like, I know I can let go because you got me. She's right. So you don't have to worry about that on the boat. Somebody going to make sure you good. If you can't make it back to your room, somebody going to make sure you make it back to your room. Because rarely does somebody come on a trip. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but rarely does somebody go on a cruise by themselves. You know, it's 6 of y'all, it's 8 of y'all, it's 12 of y'all, it's 4 of y'all. So anyway, long story short, it was a good time. A lot of drunk white people getting lit, having a great time. And I've always been a big proponent of, hey, liquor doesn't necessarily change who you are. It just makes you similar to money, right? Money, I don't think changes who you are necessarily. I think that's true in most cases, not all of them. But I think money a lot of times makes you more of what you already are. If you are already a generous person and now you have money, you're going to be more generous. If you were already cheap before you got money, when you get more money, you're going to be even more cheap. Like, you're not going to all of a sudden say, well, I got money now, so I don't got to be cheap. No, you're going to be even more cheap because you have more money. So I think it makes you more of what you already are. I think alcohol is the same thing. It doesn't change who you are. It makes you more of what you already are. So if you're a fun-loving, person, you want to have a good time, drinks are usually going to make you more of that. If you're a person that's on edge and, at any moment you can snap, alcohol is going to make you even more volatile, right? So a lot of times you go on these trips and you run into drunk white people, because it's usually a lot more of them than it is of us. And they cool as shit. And they looking to have a good time. And a lot of times they ain't even gonna remember what they did the night before. They that drunk. I remember every goddamn thing I do on the trip. But a lot of the drunk white people, they don't remember shit. and it's hilarious. Because you'll tell them, hey, do you know what you did yesterday? Do you know what you did last night? No clue. That's some scary shit when you can't remember what you did the night before. Because anything could have happened. And if you can't remember, that's some scary shit, man. But I'll just say this. This is the last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to get into tonight's show. It's rare that you can have an environment that you've cultivated where there's endless drinks, a bottomless pit of alcoholic beverages. You can't really do that anywhere else and get away with it, because something bad is going to happen if you give people the ability to drink alcohol until they black out. I truly feel like a ship is the only place you can do that. Because if you've ever went out of the country, their alcohol isn't the same as our alcohol. Now, if you get some real deal shit, maybe off the ship or off a resort, like you go somewhere and get some real liquor, it's probably legit. But if you on a resort, they're not giving you like that legit liquor, right? Your shit watered down. You got to have a bunch of drinks just to feel a buzz. I mean, you're going to get one eventually. You keep drinking, but It ain't the same as you getting lit on the ship, where it's legit liquor. You drink this at the crib. I can't think of many environments where you can give out that much alcohol without shit going down. Like, I've been on at least 7 or 8 cruises, never been one fight, never even been anything remotely close to a fight, no drama, nothing. The most you get is dude cussing out his wife who's in a wheelchair because she can't stand up because she pissy drunk. That's the biggest altercation you're going to run into. Everybody just having a good time. Try that shit at a club. Somebody getting shot. Or at a bare minimum, there's a fight breaking out. It's crazy. Anyway, I digress. Tonight's show is not ending at 3 in the morning. I hear your jokes. I'm done. Okay. We get into the podcast right now, man. Anyway, I digress. Let's jump into the gym dropping session, man, before some of y'all fall asleep on me tonight. Let me drop this gym on your melon. Open your mind. Let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So, Combine is this weekend. I don't know how many of y'all knew that. Because, like, the Combine really ain't shit no more, for real. If we keeping it a buck. Like, when I first got into this shit back in 2012, the Combine wasn't everything. It was thing. It was thing. Like, you needed that shit. You wanted to go number 1 overall, you had to bless them at the Combine, show them what the game was missing. Like, this is why you need to draft me. Once upon a time, people used the Combine as their platform to display everything that you weren't going to get. I remember Deion Sanders telling the story a million times when he used to be a part of NFL Network, where he went to the Combine. He ran he claims he ran a 4.1 something. He ain't run no 4.1 nothing. He probably ran a 4.2 something. But he blazed it. Whatever he ran, he blazed it, right? And then in the interviews with teams, he went in, he's like, what pick you got? Oh, okay, yeah. I ain't gonna be there. And he'd walk out of the meeting like, y'all ain't got nothing for me. The Combine used to be a place where you could showcase to teams what you weren't going to get if you weren't in a position to draft that particular player, or the teams at the top of the draft. This is what you could get. And then you would rest on what you did at the Combine, and you would just chill at your pro day. Talk to some teams. Maybe you weren't happy with your vert or your broad, so you go out and do that, but you were done. You did everything. You ran routes. You caught the ball. You did everything at the Combine. I don't need to do anything at the pro day. Now it's a role reversal of sorts. Guys aren't really coming to the Combine to work out. It's really more to talk to the teams, give you my medical. I heard someone say that we should do away with the Combine. It's useless now. I don't think that's true. I think it's, hold on a second. I think it still serves a purpose, right? Combine still serves a purpose. It'll always serve a purpose for medical, if nothing else. Teams will get to talk to these players, even though it's like a lightning round. It's like 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then and then that's it. But still, for a lot of these players and a lot of these teams, first exposure to some of these players, because all of them weren't at the Senior Bowl. A lot of these guys weren't at the Senior Bowl because they're not seniors; they're underclassmen. So it still serves a purpose in that regard to kind of get to know these players. But they've been so trained, on how to speak to teams now, and these teams have gotten crazy with these analysts and psychoanalysts and having people come in and ask all kinds of weird, crazy questions. It's gotten a little weird, right? But at its core, the combine is supposed to be a platform that allows guys to display their talents to help improve their draft stock. And while I was on the cruise, the NBA All-Star game was taking place. And that was one of the crazy conversations that we had with the people from Utah that we made friends with, is that they left Utah at the perfect time, because I'm like, it's going to be a lot of people in your city that you're not accustomed to being in your city, because All-Star weekend was in Utah. So I was like, you left at the perfect time. They had no idea that their city was about to be taken over for about 3 days. So they got out at the perfect time. But during that weekend, you slam dunk contest, 3-point contest, all that shit. And Stephen A. Smith made the point that LeBron single-handedly killed the slam dunk contest. And while I don't often agree with Stephen A. Smith, I think he's right. LeBron James made it okay for superstar players to not be in the slam dunk contest. Now, on one hand, LeBron is a megastar, one of the greatest players in NBA history, if not the greatest for some, not me, but he's number 2 for me. And Stephen A. went on to say, all the greats did it. And he started back in the 70s, with Thompson and company, worked his way to the 80s with, Dominique and Jordan and company, into the 90s, and he talked about Kobe and everybody else participating into the 2000s. Vince Carter told a great story, or rather Tracy McGrady told a great story. I was watching him on somebody's podcast, and it was the historic 2000 dunk contest with Vince Carter, with the "it's over" craziness, right? And Tracy, that's his cousin. Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady are cousins. So Tracy, and they played on the same team for a number of years. So Tracy already knows what Vince is capable of. They practice together. He sees this guy dunk all the time. He's like, bro, I'm not getting in the slam dunk contest with you. I already know what you about to do. And Vince practically begged him, like, come on, bro, let's put a show on, man. And Tracy said, all right, man, F it, I'm going to do it. And they put on a show. But, obviously Vince was the showstopper, and he stole the show. But Tracy already knew that shit was going to happen, and he still got in it. That was probably the last superstar player to get in the slam dunk contest. And the next guy was supposed to be LeBron, because I think that was 2000, and then Bron came into the league in 2003? And by 2005, he should have been in the slam dunk contest. 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. And I get it. On one hand, social media had started to reach a level where now you got a little bit more to lose. LeBron has 0 to gain from winning the slam dunk contest. And it wasn't like how it was back in the day where they'd offer you extra money. I think Vince Carter said he got like $1 million for winning the slam dunk contest or something like that. It's a lot of money. Well, like Vince probably didn't need it, but I'll take $1 million. LeBron doesn't need extra money. Jordan didn't need extra money. Dominique might have could use an extra few bucks, but the bottom line is LeBron didn't need money. Like, there was no amount of money that could make it appetizing for him to get into the slam dunk contest. There was nothing for him to gain by getting in. He could only be ridiculed and lose by getting in, because we expect you to win. You're LeBron James. And if you don't, if some unknown bum or the 14th man on somebody's bench who has hops comes in and beats you, that's all anybody's going to want to talk about. And that's the way he saw it. And that's not how most NBA fans saw it, though. Most fans, yeah, you're going to get trolled. There's just people out there that don't have anything better to do with their lives than troll people. All right. So yeah, they're gonna try to hold that over your head. Who gives a shit? When LeBron hangs it up, no one's gonna be saying, bro, I remember that dunk contest in 06 that you lost to Jeremy Grant. You ass. Ain't nobody saying that. And the person that's saying that, he's an ass clown. Get him out of here. He's not invited to the cookout. But LeBron didn't see it that way. He just saw it as, I can't gain anything by this. I can only lose by getting in, because if I win, I was supposed to win. I'm LeBron James. If I lose, oh man, I'm a clown. I'm this, that, and the third. So he never got in it. That was Stephen A's perspective. And he was right, because since LeBron didn't do it, guys like John Morant, who should be in the slam dunk contest, they're not going to get in it. LeBron didn't do it. I'm not doing it. So nobody's going to do it. You're not seeing any stars get in the dunk contest. And they didn't do it because LeBron didn't do it. You don't think Carmelo would have gotten in a dunk contest if LeBron got in one? You don't think Dwayne Wade would have gotten in a dunk contest if LeBron got in one? You don't think John Morant would be getting in the slam dunk contest? Of course, they all would have done it if LeBron would have done it. But he didn't. He set the precedent, and now nobody wants to do it. You're only getting, C-listers, and Mac McClung was brought up from the G League on a 10-day contract so he could be in the slam dunk contest. And I knew he was going to win it. Anyway, I said that because it's a perfect segue to what the NFL Combine has become. Stars don't have to perform at the Combine anymore. And I personally, I look at it like this. If you've got talent and you stack up well with the rest of the guys, you got nothing to hide. Like if you're a quarterback, I don't give a shit what your 40 time is. If you say I'm not running the 40, I don't care. You know what I do care though? Go out and throw it. I don't want to hear about, oh man, I never threw to these receivers. No, nobody's thrown to these receivers before. You, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, none of these dudes have thrown to any of the receivers. So Bryce Young, why aren't you throwing to the receivers? I can tell you why I don't think he's going to do it. Because one, he's going to look like a shrimp next to all of these dudes. Two, his arm isn't as strong as theirs. He's got plenty of zip on the football. I'm not worried about him being able to throw the football, but his shit is going to look like a pop gun next to Anthony Richardson's and next to CJ Stroud. His arm's going to look like minced meat. He don't want to embarrass himself. 9 times out of 10, when a dude doesn't want to step up to the plate at the combine, it's because he's hiding something. He had an injury that he had repaired, but they say, hey, he been healed from that shit. If he wanted to perform at the combine, he could. He just don't want to. And that's fine. It is what it is. Jalen Carter's like, yeah, I'm going to come, but I'm just doing interviews. I ain't working out. That's bullshit to me. Like they're making the combine this big show, but if your biggest stars aren't performing in the show, why would I want to watch? I mean, I'm going to watch anyway, but I always tell you, I watch so you don't have to. Trust me, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. It gets worse and worse every year as a product. Because less and less guys are performing and competing. So it still serves a purpose because there'll always be a guy that's a 3rd round pick that believes he should be a 2nd. There's always a guy in the second that believes he could be a first. And they're going to go out there and they're going to try to make themselves some money. There'll always be guys that want to compete. The guy that's a late round draft pick that feels like I should be taken in the 4th round, or he's a 5th round pick and he's like, why can't I be a day 2 pick? I'm better than you think. I'm more athletic than you think. I can do more than you think. This is his opportunity to show that. Here's where I feel like the NFL messed up. There's no penalty for these players doing what like it's a slippery slope, right? But there's no penalty for these players opting out of games at the end of seasons, which I'm not mad at them for that. Got to protect your future and your livelihood. There's no penalty for not performing at the combine. Because if the league banded together and said, hey, like we can't formally do anything to you, right? Because that's your right. It's optional. Like they can't say, if we give you an invite and you accept the invite, you have to compete at the combine. They can't do that. Because then a lot of guys just wouldn't show up, and they don't want that. They want your medical. They want you to be tested physically. They want you to sit down with these teams and interview because it still serves a purpose. But what they could do is they could say, all right, you don't work out at the combine. We're going to make sure that you're not an XYZ draft pick. And look, there's always going to be a team that says, F what y'all talking about. That dude's the top 3 talent. And if he falls to me at 9, I'm taking him. And every team in 12, 13, 14 is saying, shit, if he gets past you, I'm taking his ass. That would never happen because it's all about getting the most talent that you can. So teams aren't going to pass up on that, but they've made it so that these players have all the power. And again, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to these players having the ability to control what they can control. Because like David Ajabo, you could be working at your pro day, tear your ACL, and you went from being a 1st round pick to a 2nd round pick. There's a big difference in money when that happens. So the less amount of times you work out, the better it is for you. That's the least amount of times you're putting yourself at risk. But at the same time, the combine is a big event for the NFL. It's huge. Shit, they even got a sponsor this year. It's sponsored by No Bull, whatever the hell that is. They started letting fans in like 3-4 years ago. Like this shit is getting bigger and bigger every year. And every year, dudes are like, nah, I'm good. I ain't gonna mess around with it. I catch y'all at my pro day though. Then the pro day comes, and now we got to rely on somebody hand time telling us that this guy ran this, and then somebody else is like, he ran this. Then somebody's got, he ran between this and this. Now I don't know what the hell he ran. I don't know how far he jumped or how, what he did. I got to listen to somebody else. Some of these shits are on NFL Network televised. I'm not watching no damn pro days. I'm not sitting around and watching that shit. I have better things to do. Bad enough I'm sitting here watching the damn combine. When everybody's there at once, knock this shit out one time and be done with it. But really, to me, the biggest draw is when we have years when quarterbacks are good, and this is a good quarterback draft class. Watching them throw the football, which is why I'm disappointed that Bryce Young's not going to throw. Because everybody else is going to throw. And he should be throwing. Why not? I already gave you my reasons as to why he's not throwing. Because Bryce Young's probably 5'11". He'll measure out at 6 foot and an eighth. He's probably 5'11". And his arm isn't going to be as strong as Anthony Richardson It's not going to be as strong as CJ Stroud. He's not going to look as impressive as they are. I don't think the receivers in this year's draft class are remotely close to the receivers we've seen in, the past 3 or 4 drafts. And I could be overrating 1 or 2 of those draft classes. I don't think this is a particularly strong draft class of receivers. So I'm going to say this. I've listened to Mel Kiper and Todd McShay talk about the overall strength of this draft class. And they've said multiple times that this draft class is one of the lightest on talent in recent memory. One of the things that stuck out to me was Mel Kiper was talking about putting together a mock draft for the first round and saying, I only got 16 dudes with a first round grade. And then Todd McShay piggybacked off of that and said, I had a coach hit me up after I released my second mock draft for the first round. And he laid me out. Said, how could you give me this guy when every single coach in the league that I've talked to, and I've talked to all 32 teams, they got a second round grade on this dude, just like I do. And you're mocking him to my team in the first round. And Todd McShay said, what do you want me to do? Stop my mock draft at 16? I still got to fill it out. I probably got the same grade on the guy that you have. But there's only 16 dudes with first round grades. What do you want me to do? I still got to mock the rest of the draft, right? That's the type of draft that it is. That doesn't mean that you can't find gems in the second round, and the third round, and the fourth round. And I thought Kiper made a great point. He said, look, not just because it's not the most talented group of guys doesn't mean you can't walk away feeling like you killed the draft, because teams usually put together a board with maybe 80 to 120 guys that they're interested in, that if they have a chance to select, they'd like to select, right? And obviously, of that 80 to 120 guys, you're going to walk away with probably 4 or 5 of them, you're hoping. Because you're not going to have a chance to select all of those guys, obviously. But what you're hoping to do in a draft like this is you're hoping to get one of those guys with the first round grade, which Washington is right on the fringe. Everybody's saying roughly they've got about 15 to 16 guys. Well, we're at 16, so we're right on the fringe. You're hoping to get one of those dudes that has a first round grade at a position of need. And then after that, you're hoping to get guys that kind of fit what you're looking for and also meet a position of need and give you the best value. You don't want to start reaching for players, right? Again, value is objective, or subjective rather. And really, we only talk about this shit one time of the year. After a dude gets drafted and we bitch and complain about value of where you drafted him, 2 years later, hell, sometimes even 6 months later, who gives a shit, right? The only time we bring it up is if he's playing really well or if he stinks. If you drafted a guy in the first round and he stinks, oh man, then you start hearing the B word. If you drafted a guy in the 5th round and he's kicking ass, we got to steal. 2 years after that, nobody's talking about he was a 5th round pick anymore. Just got a beast of a player. So it's only one time of the year that we make a big deal out of where you draft a guy, getting value and all that shit. Value is in the eye of the beholder. You got a 5th round grade on that dude. I got a 3rd round grade on him. Same player, 2 different teams, 2 different perspectives. So anyway, I can just tell you this. This combine is going to be interesting because I think there are 3 positions in particular that are really strong in this draft. And after that, it's a crapshoot. Quarterback is a top-heavy position, but usually in any draft, that's the case. It's rare that you say, hey, there are 12 draftable quarterbacks, and there are 8 that I think can be eventual starters in the league. That's not what happens. Usually, there's 4 or 5 guys that you think have the chance to be legit starters in the league, and then there may be 2 or 3 extra guys that you think have a chance to stick as backups. And then there may be 2 or 3 other guys that get drafted that never see the light of day. You know, it's rare that you get 11 or 12 quarterbacks taken in a draft. It's usually more like 8 or 9. But that's what we have in this draft. You've got Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, Richardson, Anthony Richardson. You got the kid from Stanford. I think that's about it on the guys that you're going to hear about over and over and over and over again. And then you'll have some ancillary dudes. Hendon Hooker. If he didn't get injured, I think he'd be a much bigger topic of conversation if he didn't get injured. Sucks that he got injured when he did. You got my guy, Hall from BYU, who I like a lot, but we'll see. I'm anxious to see him run, throw, see if he can put together a couple of good days from a testing standpoint, interview standpoint, and go out on the field and spin it a little bit. Because I like what I saw from him at BYU, but so quarterback is one position. Edge rusher, I think, is another top-heavy position, or just the defensive line in particular, but edge rusher, and then corner. I think this is a super strong cornerback draft class. You can get yourself a quality corner probably all the way up until the 3rd round, man. You probably can still get you a starter day 1. Like, it's that much. And usually when it's this much, it ain't lasting until the 3rd round. People just going to be picking them shits off. I remember one year, I think it was like 3 years ago, yeah, like 9 or 10 corners go in the 1st round. It was insane. You know, Raiders with Mike Mayock were reaching for shit and drafting guys. I think who'd they draft? Like the Garyon Conley or somebody. Who was it that they reached for in the 1st round? Like, what the hell are you doing, man? But it was like 9 corners went in the 1st round. It was crazy. I think this could be one of those types of drafts where you get like 8 or 9 corners in the 1st round. And if that happens, then clearly you're not going to see that kind of value, you know, persist into the 3rd round. There'll still be some holdovers because I think there are literally 12 or 13 really good corners in this draft. So that's a strong position. And I think a sleeper position is tight end. Because you're going to have Max Mayer, you're going to have Darnell Washington. Kincaid from Utah is a guy that I really, really like. Dalton Kincaid from Utah is a guy that I've watched on film multiple times already. I've already love him. So I think you're going to have some tight ends in this draft class that are really good. And then there's some guys with some upside that haven't even, like Darnell Washington, he's an upside guy for me. He's not a finished product by far. So I think that the tight end position is another one where I think you could see that be a position that gets attacked a lot earlier than we're used to seeing. So anyway, I digress. I think the combine is definitely overrated. in its importance, but it still serves a purpose. And I think most of us who watch the combine, we just want to see guys come out and compete. Like, I get it. There's a reason why things are being done. These agents get in their, client's ear and say, hey, look, man, you got nothing to gain by working out at the combine. If you're more comfortable, just work out at your pro day. And I get that. And if I were in their position and I had any apprehension about anything, I just work out at your combine, at your pro day. I get it. I'm not in their shoes. So I understand that there's a decision there to be made. But from a fan perspective, from a viewer perspective, I want to see the best of the best compete. All in an environment that was cultivated to entice competitors to compete. They put this together to get guys to show up and want to one up the next guy to show I'm better than you. And somewhere along the lines, that competitive spirit got lost. And it became more about money and me and what I got to do. And I get it. But somewhere, I don't know where it happened, but somewhere along the line, the competitive spirit got lost. I remember one year Calvin Johnson was like, nah, I ain't running. And he got to the combine and everybody was running. And he was like, yo, F that shit. Hey, somebody got an extra pair of spikes I could use? Grab somebody's random pair of spikes. First of all, who has spikes that can fit Calvin Johnson? I don't know. Pause. Puts on somebody's random ass spikes, goes out and blazes the 40 and says, there you go. Like, why not? Like, bro, you don't got nothing to hide. You know you running fast. So just do it. That's the shit that bothers me. Because eventually you're going to have to run the 40 anyway. Like, you could tear your ACL at the combine. We've never seen anybody, let me knock on wood. We've never seen anyone tear their ACL or Achilles at the combine. Never. We've seen hamstring pulls. We've seen turned ankles. Nothing serious, though, happens at the combine. We've never seen it. But anything that can happen at the combine can happen at your damn pro day. I get it. And everything that they do is intentional. They keep you up till 2, 3 in the morning, wake you up early the next morning and have you compete. And so it's not the most comfortable. You're not at your most optimal levels. They know that. They bake that into the evaluation. But it's gotten to a point now where guys don't want to compete. And that's frustrating. Same thing with the slam dunk contest, which is why I brought it up. Because it's gotten to a point now where, because if everybody did it at the combine, if all the big names competed, then year after year, everybody would do it. But when dudes don't do it, it just means the next batch of guys don't have to do it, and the batch after them don't have to do it. And it just, more and more guys decide, nah, I work out at my pro day. It's all good. And it's disappointing. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to social media maneuvers. I'm a midnight marauder. Y'all know what it is. So get to the comment section. Y'all know how this works. For those of you who don't, it's really simple. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read on the air. If it's pertinent, we'll get to it. And if you want to jump straight to the front of the line, super chats are the way to do it. And yeah, everything I just said. Blame it on the alcohol. Blame it on the alcohol. I don't even know if that's how that goes, that last part. Y'all know what it is. Late night Louie in the building. All right. See what y'all got to say, man. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what free agent you want the most for the Commanders? I think I really would like them to focus. Like, if I'm being economical, Louie, like if I'm being economical, probably offensive line, interior offensive line, guard, center, because it's not going to cost you a ton, but you still get a quality player. If I'm being like splurgy, like I don't give a shit, it ain't my money, linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds is what I would want to do. But I know how this works. And I always say it ain't my money. I don't give a shit. But I mean, you're still playing. This ain't baseball. You're still under a hard cap. Right. So eventually that shit's gonna catch up with you if spending a ton of money on a linebacker. I just don't know if that's a sound investment, to be honest with you. Especially when you're looking at your D line and you saying, hey, I don't really know. Because think about, if you're a Washington Commanders fan, think about it from this perspective. 6 months ago, nope, that's not long enough. 8 months ago, did you think Daron Payne would be getting franchise tagged and we'd be sitting here saying, hey, we can't lose this dude? Did you think that 8 months ago? Not most of you didn't. There were a select few. My guy Derek B was all over this shit a year and a half ago when he was screaming, hey, we got to pay Daron Payne. And I was like, nah, I'm not paying him a damn thing. Because he can't get to the quarterback. Fast forward to present day, and we like, bro, you got to franchise him, and then you got to try to get a long-term deal done with him. Right now, as I sit here right now, on February 28th, 2023, I'm like, right now, Montez Sweat is cool, but I'm good. He's a good football player. But unless he show me some shit, I'm not really looking to break him off. He still hasn't gotten double-digit sacks yet. And I know what he is against the run, dominant. I know what kind of athlete he is, dominant. I know he gets pressure on the quarterback. Man's always up there in pressures. I need some results, though. Right now, I'm putting him in the same boat I put Daron Payne in. Like, pick up your fifth-year option. Still not really sure about you. Not looking to extend you right now. We got him in what? 19 with Dwayne, right? So 19, 20, 21, 22. So this is his 5th year, right? So we essentially telling him, bro, we like you, we don't love you. Make me love you. That's how I feel about Montez Sweat. That's how I felt about Daron Payne. He made me love him. I don't know if I don't love Chase Young right now. But I'll be damned if I let somebody else get with him, right? Like, bro, like I'm one of those crazy possessive types right now. Like, nah, I ain't really trying to wife her up, but you can't get with her though. But bro, you're not even with her. I don't care. She mine still. That's how I'm like with Chase Young, right? Like, I don't really know what this is, but I know you ain't messing with him. That's our stuff. Bad. I'm not sure how I feel about Montez Sweat right now. We'll find out. So I said all of that to say this. Sweat could go and do the same thing Deron Payne just did. Contract year, put it all together, finally show us with all this talent that he's got, all this potential that he has, finally turn it into actual substance and production, go off for 14 and a half sacks. And I'm saying, hey, pay that man. Stop playing. How does that look if you just broke Tremaine Edmonds off on a 5-year, $87 million deal? And you got dudes over here still on rookie contracts trying to get broke off. What does Jonathan Allen feel when he signed a 4-year, $72 million contract? You bringing this outsider who ain't did shit for us in here on a 5-year, $80 million contract. You know, that's not 4-year 80. Let's say 4-year 80. Because that would be more. You're not signing a linebacker for $20 million per year. Let me just say that right now. Not Tremaine Edmonds, at least. But just for the sake of the argument, because if he signed a 5-year 80, that's not more annual per than Jonathan Allen's, 4-year 72. So, Jonathan Allen wouldn't be pissed off about that. But even though Jonathan Allen's no dummy, he knows they have to account for inflation and a new salary cap and all of that good stuff. Don't nobody want to see dudes that they know ain't better than them making more money than them, especially outsiders. That's what crumbled the franchise when Dan Snyder got here. Is dudes like Ryan Clark and why I'm blanking on his name. What was the damn linebacker? Bald-headed, light-skinned linebacker, man. Damn, why I'm blanking on his name? Dudes like that should have been getting paid. We let him walk so we can go sign Jeremiah Trotter and Adam Archuleta and bullshit like that instead of paying the dudes who deserve to be paid here. Antonio Pierce, that was his damn name. I don't really want to do that. So I'd rather be economical, go after a guard or a center or both in free agency. And if you can find a low-level linebacker, my guy's been David Long all along. If you can get David Long, that's not going to cost you a pretty penny. Nobody's going to be upset about you spending a little bit of money to go out. Like that deal, how much did the Jaguars give Foye Oluokun last year? I'm about to look that shit up right now. Because I think they signed him to a 4-year deal, a nice, hearty 4-year deal. Foye Oluokun contract. I should have known that shit wasn't going to go well. Google's like, I don't know what the hell you just said, bro. 3 years, $45 million, so $15 million per year. I wouldn't mind giving David Long some shit like that. And that wouldn't upset anybody. John Livingston, my guy, JL Smooth. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, love the story time, Lou. Only been on 2 cruises, but the captain was very clear, stating, you start some ish, you're getting left behind. That's how you set the tone. With them saying good luck from the megaphone. Hey, look, that's how you set the tone right there. See, I've never been on a boat where the captain let it be known, don't start no ish, won't be no ish. Okay. I ain't never been on one of those because we ain't had to do that. Now, if some shit pop off, that's when I get on the megaphone and let y'all know, hey, we had a little altercation last night. And I'm going to just let y'all know, anything of the sort pop off, we turn this bitch around, we going home, or the next time we stop, Y'all ass is getting off. And you got to find a way home. We ain't playing with your ass. Watch yourself. I ain't playing with your bitch ass. As a wise man once told me. So, it's always good when they set the tone from the get-go. Like, hey, this is the expectation. I ain't never heard a captain have to do that. So I don't know what cruises you were on, but they might have been some hood cruises or something. Thank you for that super chat, JL Smooth. But I bet you had a good time on those cruises too. Red Wings 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, he may not do it for a plethora of reasons, but I really want to see AR-15 run the 40. The arm, the legs, the size, got to see it all. He's a generational freak, but just how freaky are we talking? A lot of black quarterbacks, and it started with Lamar Jackson, because Robert Griffin III ran. A lot of black quarterbacks don't want to run the 40 because they don't want you basing their, assessment off of how freaky of an athlete they are. Because, most black quarterbacks come into the league with the black quarterback complex. And I know that's not supposed to be a thing anymore. It's 2023, but it exists. Who the hell are we kidding? You want to prove that you can throw the football, that I'm not just an athlete that happens to play quarterback and you got to run all of this crazy shit. I can throw the football from the pocket. What did we say about Jalen Hurts? Solid athlete, want to run, but he ain't going to hurt you. He's a running back. That was my line, right? He's a running back playing quarterback. Can't really hurt you from the pocket. Don't let him use his legs and then see if he can beat you from the pocket. What did he do this year? Beat teams from the pocket, right? What did he do in the Super Bowl? Shredded them from the pocket. So that's what black quarterbacks are looking to prove at all times. So I wouldn't be shocked if he's like, nah, I ain't running the 40, but I'll throw it. I'll spin the bitch for you. But I ain't gonna go out here and run. I really wanted to know what Malik Willis was going to run last year. He didn't run. And I don't think he's going to run. And I don't have a problem with that. I don't really care. Because it's not often that you're going to get a quarterback running in a straight line in the NFL. Not like a running back or a wide receiver or a tight end. Even an offensive lineman, there'll be times where he get out on the screen and you'll see that 4.8, 240 speed that he ran at the combine. You'll see that shit on full display. It's not often that a quarterback gets to run in a straight line because they're not usually going to get free. Like, you get the rare case like a Lamar Jackson on a read option, pulls it out and hits a seam and it's one defender to beat and he's able to do it. But that shit's rare in the NFL, So I don't put too much stock into it. I know for the purpose that you want to see is just so you can say, damn, he ran a 4.2, a 4.42, spinning that bitch, because they had this crazy shit at the combine now where they actually measure RPMs. So you'd be like, he was throwing a football at 22 miles an hour, and he was, and he had a play because this what the guys like to do. We saw Josh Allen and Herbert do it. I think most recently is. You get guys with big arms who just on those go balls when you're doing the quarterback receiver routes, make the receiver run about 50 yards and then launch that bitch and throw it about 70, 75 yards in the air just so they can show off their arm. Like, I can do that. And so you put all of that together, you say, man, he's a freak. He's got talent. I don't worry about his measurables, his arm, his legs, his size. I don't, pause. I don't worry about any of that stuff. I worry about the accuracy. I worry about the decision making on and off the field. I worry about that stuff with him. So, and I got to dig into him more. I don't even know if the off the field stuff is fair, but I know at one point he had some disciplinary stuff. It could have been something minor, like he missed curfew. I don't know. Um, so I don't know if that needs to even be a part of the discussion. But I just watched him play football, and I wasn't impressed because of like you watch him the first throw against LSU, you're like, wow. Some of the plays against Utah in the first game of the season, wow. But you watch him against Kentucky, you're like, ugh, that's nasty. So it's the consistency piece for me. You know, we'll see about him. John Perez, my guy JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, great story time to kick off the night, Lou. I appreciate that. I know I was all over the place with that shit. All over the place. I had no, like, Jalen Hurts said, wise man once said, before I had a purpose before they had an opinion. Right? I had a purpose before they had an opinion. That story had no purpose. Before y'all had an opinion, I didn't have a purpose at all. I was just rambling. So, need to take one of these cornerbacks at 16 and spend money on linebacker, guard, and maybe a tight end. I know you've been heavy on trying to get a tight end. I'm telling you, JP, we're not doing nothing at tight end. They're not releasing Logan Thomas. I know after what you saw last year, you got to be impressed with Amani Rodgers and want to see more. Cole Turner, they're literally just scratching the surface with him. And then you got John Bates, who is a really good blocker. And every now and again, you can throw him a bone, but he's a good blocker. So the tight end room is complete right now. Next year, if Logan Thomas shows you that, hey, getting up there in age, not able to do some of the things that he did the first year he was here, you can move on from him, and then you can upgrade the tight end position. But right now, I think they're fine at the tight end position. But guard, center, linebacker, corner, all positions that need to be addressed. I just recently participated in a mock draft. Like, it's literally, all 32 teams were represented by content creators who do draft, who do content. I was representing the Commanders, and I was shocked at how many corners went off the board before 16 in the mock draft that I was in. I was like, shit, because I had all these guys in a queue, right? So what that means is you put these guys in like a little separate category for yourself so that you don't have to go looking for them when it's your turn to select, because you only got like 2 minutes to make a pick, maybe or maybe it's like a minute and 30, so that the draft didn't take, because we did 3 rounds, so that the draft doesn't take all day. And that 2 minutes run out quick, man. If you steady looking for somebody and that person's like, wait, because you can create your list, your rankings, but that's just too much work, right? So I was just like, I'll just find them, right? So I got all these guys in a queue, and one by one, they asses was getting selected. I'm like, God damn. Luckily, I had a plan. I already told y'all what my plan was. If Miles Murphy is there as a defensive end, because I don't think you re-signing both Chase Young and Montez Sweat. Hell, both of their asses could not get re-signed. I don't think that's likely, though. But the real thing, like, here's the dilemma. Here's the dilemma, right? Montez goes out, and so first of all, you have to pick up Chase's 5th-year option. I think we're all clear on this, right? Say Chase he's all right. Say Chase is 7.5 sacks in 2023. Yeah, that's solid, right? It ain't change the world. It ain't number 2 overall selection in the 2020 draft. Good, but yeah, it's all right. Well, let's say in that same season, which is the upcoming season, Montez Sweat goes off for 13 and a half sacks. And he forces 6 fumbles, and he's just the game record that his talent says he should be. Well, you got to resign his ass at that point, right? So then you do that, right? Let's say you franchise him, you do the whole song and dance you do with Deron, but you get it done in July. Then you get to Chase, 5th year, and he finally puts it all together. He's finally the Predator. Fully healthy, fully engaged, properly coached, 17 and a half sacks. He's that guy. He's that dude. He's what we thought he was. Well, shit, we just spent money on Montez. Like, what are we going to do? Right? That's the dilemma. Because if Chase shows you that shit in 2023, to hell with Montez. He can kick rocks. Because if you got to pick one, you're going to take Chase. Because right now, Chase is one of the faces of the franchise. You would prefer it to be Chase. So you can keep promoting Chase Young. Because he's a household name. You don't got to have a quarterback from a promotional standpoint. If you got Chase Young, you can put him up on the marquee anytime. We already doing that. But what if he doesn't show you enough in 2023? You go into 2024 saying, all right, Chase, last chance. And then he puts it all together and you just paid Montez. Theoretically, you could pay him too. But I don't think that's what you want to do. It was all along, it was always 3 out of 4 of these dudes you were looking to pay. Always. I think we got the 3 out of 4 dudes wrong. Because Payne, I'm telling you right now, Payne wasn't it was the 2 ends and Allen. That was always the equation. Payne threw a monkey wrench in that shit with what he did this year. And I don't mind, because I think it's much harder to stop 2 interior, dudes that can get after the quarterback than 2 dudes off the edge. Personally. You can find you 2 quality pass rushers on the outside. You can't have Casey Toohill and James Smith-Williams. Right? No disrespect to those dudes, but it can't be them. But you go out and you get you some quality edge rushers with those 2 dudes on the inside, and them dudes on the outside can get you 8 to 10 sacks just off of the pressure and what those guys are doing on the inside. So, personally, I think it's 3 out of 4. It's always been 3 out of 4. And now that it's 2 defensive tackles, you got to pick one of these defensive ends, and you just don't want to get it wrong. Because if you pass up on Taz and say, hey, I think it could be you, but we're not sure, they could franchise him, right? Just to make sure that it ain't him. It's going to be expensive, but you could franchise him. Go into that final year, Chase's rookie contract, and see what he does. And then whoever performs the best say, I'm keeping you and letting the other one walk. Theoretically, you could do that, especially being that you right now don't have a quarterback that you're paying. And if Sam Howell doesn't work out, more likely than not, you won't be paying a quarterback, because you'll still be looking for a rookie quarterback, and you'll be paying a guy on a rookie contract. So again, we're in a great position to pay all of them if we wanted to, but that's not the goal. That's not smart business. The smart thing to do would be 3 out of 4 of these dudes. One of them has to walk. You can't pay everybody. And the teams that try to do it find themselves in a tough spot. You got to let somebody walk. You just don't want to make a mistake if you're Washington. So we'll see how they do it. So I said I was doing a mock draft. All the corners that were worthy of being the 16th pick. Devin Witherspoon, Christian Gonzalez, Joey Porter Jr., all of them jokers was gone by 16. I mean, I think the first corner came off the board at like 6 or 7. I was like, what the? So I ended up taking Miles Murphy. He was still there. I was shocked. I took Miles Murphy at 16 and didn't regret doing it. And then you know what? I messed around and got in the second round and felt so damn good about it. I messed around and got Clark Phillips III in the second round. I ain't have to trade up. I ain't have to do nothing crazy. He just fell in my lap and felt damn good about it. I had a plan in the third round, and right before my plan came to fruition, they effed the shit up, and then I ran out of time on my last pick. I had two dudes. Henry Toa from Alabama, the linebacker. And then I had this guard from Arkansas. Forgot his name. I had them both sized up like, yo, one of these jokers going to be here at my, pick in the third round. And literally 4 picks before my pick, the guard went. 2 picks before my pick, Henry Toa went. I said, what the hell am I going to do now? I started searching through the list, and they ended up, it made a pick for me. And it took Tanner McKee, the quarterback from Stanford. I was like, ugh, that's nasty. But, I mean, I didn't make the pick. I wanted a guard right there. But all the guards was like, I won't say they was gone, but the ones I had my eyes set, my sights set on, they were long gone. So, anyway, I'm thinking about having one of those on my channel, though, and letting y'all, having people from all the different fan bases fill out, the different teams and having that play out on my channel. I think I'm gonna do one with y'all, man, because it was a lot of fun. I've done it 2 years in a row now. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Starface, writes, would you take Young or Richardson? Are you going with the safe pick with Young or swing for something high with a higher ceiling like with Richardson? You mean someone, not something. I am a Bryce Young fan. When it with quarterback in particular, swinging for the fences is nice, but you can strike out too. I much rather have the guy that I know is going to make contact and put the ball in play, and more likely than not, find some green grass while he's at it. And, if he's able to get under the baseball a little bit, maybe knock it out of the park. But if he just squares it up, it's in a gap somewhere and he's getting to second base, stand up, double, right? Down the line, maybe it's a triple, but you got to slide in head first. But what I'm not looking to do is strike out. And the floor on Anthony Richardson is striking out. The floor on Bryce Young is a CNI single, probably more like a stand-up double. Maybe you got to leg it out. But that kid isn't going to fail in the NFL. He may not be elite, but he's not going to fail in the NFL. Anthony Richardson could be Jamarcus Russell in the league. You understand what I'm saying? He could be Robert Griffin III in the league. He could be Cam Newton in the league too, which is what's got everybody excited. But I don't know if I'm willing to make, from what I've seen, I'm uncomfortable with taking that man with a first round pick. I just can't. I couldn't bring myself to do it. If I'm an NFL team and I'm looking for a quarterback, I'd be more likely to do what the Eagles did with Jalen Hurts with Anthony Richardson than, or even the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson, 32nd pick overall. I do that with Anthony Richardson. I can't bring myself to select Anthony Richardson at 7 if I'm the Raiders, at 4 if I'm Indianapolis, so forth and so forth. It's a lot of teams. Carolina could use him wherever the hell they are, 9 or wherever they are. Like I couldn't bring myself to do it. In my mock draft that I just did, the Seahawks selector took Anthony Richardson at like 8. I was like, ugh, what you doing? Like, so they had 4 different emojis you could click on to respond to the pick. And one of them was a shit emoji. I clicked that shit quick. Ugh. What you doing? But maybe he's perfect for Seattle. I don't know. I'm taking Bryce Young all day, every day, 10 times out of 10. I'm not fooling around with Anthony Richardson. I watched enough of his games at Florida to know there's a level of inconsistency where that shit's broken. I mean, we talking missing open receivers. Where you're like, come on, bro. That's an easy throw. That's pitch and catch. What you doing? Again, there's some throws where you go, damn, that shit was beautiful. But it's just too many inconsistencies. Look, in the NFL, let me just explain something to you about the quarterback position in the NFL. In the NFL, at the quarterback position, home runs are great. And that's the separator. Who's hitting a home run? Right? The guys that stick around and have longevity are the guys that don't miss layups and consistently able to hit the open 3. Okay? So if we sticking with the basketball analogy, can't miss the bunny, right? I give you the 7-yard slant. I give you the 12-yard dig over the middle of the football field. I give you the 8-yard out. I give you the 12 back to 10. I give you the 14 back to 12. You can't miss that. I need that. Okay? That's automatic. If they giving it to you, you got to take it. That's free. You get the open 3. Okay? Busted coverage. Your guys got to step. I need you to hit that. Right? What happens when your guy is covered and you got to throw him open? That's the contested 3. That's the pump fake. Get the guy to blow by. You can even take a dribble if you need to reset and then shoot it. Or that's a pump fake. He flies by and you got to shoot it because he ain't go that far. He can come back and get a piece of it if you ain't quick enough with the release. Or, and he running at you, I don't care. He coming to contest. I'm still about to drain this. Buckets. In the NFL, open is a lot different than college. And there were some wide open receivers at Florida, and then there was some receivers that weren't open, but I need you to be able to make that throw because in the NFL, that's open. And too often, he missed those throws. And he missed some layups. Where you're like, bro, come on. That's an easy completion. You can't miss that in the NFL. You missing that at Florida? Against South Carolina? That's a problem. Because if you drafted by the Raiders and you playing against Kansas City and you missed that receiver on 3rd and 7 and that would have been a first down and you give it back to Patrick Mahomes, you're dead. You give it back to Justin Herbert, you're dead. You ain't playing against, what's the kid from Oklahoma that stunk, that transferred over to South Carolina? Whatever his name is, you ain't playing against his stinking ass. You're dealing with some killers now. So, yeah, I ain't fooling with him. Give me the guy that I know. I watched this man go to Texas, team struggling, game on the line. And you know, Texas is this is people be forgetting. Football is different in Texas. Okay. I don't know where you live at, how serious you think y'all take football. That shit pales in comparison to how they take football in Texas. Football is religion in the state of Texas at every level. Middle school, high school, college, pros. Texas is dying for a winner. The University of Texas is they dying to get back to the Vince Young days. They will even take the Colt McCoy days and make that shit feel like the Vince Young days. They dying to get back there. They think Peyton Manning's nephew is going to take them back there. We'll see. For one Saturday in, I want to say it was September, they thought they was going back there. They think they got the right coach now. And they were 2-0, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. And if they would have beaten Alabama, they would have lost their damn minds. And they had a chance. And Bryce Young said, with everything that went on in that game, and shit was not going well for them. And that was one of the least talented Alabama teams I've seen in a long time, especially at receiver. Thank God for Jahmyr Gibbs. Okay? When we talking about Alabama last year offensively. Him, and I really like Latu at tight end. Thank God for those two. Because the receiver wasn't hitting on shit. However, that final drive, that man said, not today. Bryce Young said, not today. On the road in Austin, that man takes them down the field. And I knew when he got the football, I said, he about to do these boys. Cameron Latu and Jahmyr Gibbs, and he started finding some of these receivers that was letting them down all game long. And he peppered those boys all the way down the field. Game-winning field goal. Everybody drive home safe. Y'all thought y'all had one. You thought. Give me that dude. All right. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Starface writes, in my opinion, you always take a swing on a higher ceiling quarterback when drafting QB. Look at the guys like Mahomes. You can't teach the things he can do. You need guys like that. So on a guy like Mahomes, right? The reason Mahomes wasn't a chic pick when the Chiefs traded up to get him. Remember, that was the Mitchell Trubisky number 2 overall, to the Bears draft. Mahomes was playing backyard football. A lot of the shit he was doing was off script, and teams didn't know how to handle that. Like, does this shit translate to the NFL? He ain't going to be able to do that at the next level. He ain't going to be running around for 10 seconds, extending, throwing sidearm, and complete. Nah, that shit don't fly in the NFL. That's why he got overlooked. If they could project, now it's different. Mahomes is like the Steph Curry of the NFL in a sense that before Steph in the NBA, hey, you can't shoot threes like that. You can't, do the shit Steph Curry doing, right? Like Dame Lillard and Steph Curry have reinvented what's okay, what's an okay shot. You can't take a step past half court and shoot at the logo. That's not a good shot. What are you doing? That's now a good shot depending on who you are, right? It's an acceptable shot. Patrick Mahomes made it okay to do that off schedule shit, to run backwards 15 yards, dip and dodge. You know, just as you stepping out of bounds, throw that shit side arms 3/4 and complete it. Run around right when you about to get hit, flip it underhand on some Brett Favre type shit to a running back that scores. Or throw it like sideways, flip it to Clyde Edwards-Helaire for a touchdown. Or Jerick McKinnon. He was doing that shit at Texas Tech. They just didn't know if that shit would translate or not. But he was accurate. He was doing all of the simple shit right. That ain't the shit Anthony Richardson doing. The shit don't look the same. High ceiling is cool, but Patrick Mahomes' floor wasn't, you know, the basement. It was like, all right, if he's not able to do the shit he was doing at Texas Tech, he'll still be a solid NFL quarterback. If Anthony Richardson isn't able to pull off some of the athletic exploits and, you know, make some of that shit happen, if he's not in the right offense, again, he could be Jamarcus Russell. You know how bad you get set back when you spend a first-round pick on a quarterback that sucks ass? Depending on how you've prepared yourself, set you back a ways, 4 or 5 years. The Jets said F it with Zach Wilson. Like, okay, yeah, this he don't get it. I knew his ass didn't get it after the game. He stunk against the Patriots. And they said, hey, man, that was a pretty bad performance. And he was like, yeah, it was windy outside, man. You saw this shit? I mean, the Patriots had to deal with that shit too. And they was like, yeah, Mac Jones went like 22 for 28, though. Yeah, but they only scored like 3 points like we did, though. So, like, we all had to deal with that. Like, bro, own your shit. Your teammate came in the locker room snapping because you was ass. Own it. They figured out, okay, he don't get it. Not only is he trash, but he on that Robert Griffin III shit, where he's oblivious to the fact that, bro, you're not playing well. You got to be better. Or at least own up to the shit. I understand wanting to take the guy with the ceiling. I think there's something to be said about taking a guy that's going to be at no worse a double in the league. Because I think Bryce Young could be a home run too. But I know he ain't going to be no worse than a double. I don't believe in Will Levis. And I don't believe in... Now, Will is a little bit different than Richardson in the sense that I've seen more consistency from him, but I still haven't been blown away by him either. There's a lot of inconsistencies in his game as well. But they both have the talent to be extraordinary. But will they? Most guys that get picked in the first round have extraordinary gifts. That's why you get taken in the first round. You know, there aren't any, you're not seeing Chad Pennington go in the first round anymore. That shit doesn't happen. You get taken in the first round, more likely than not, you got a gun for an arm, you got good mobility, you got some wheels most likely on you, and we feel like you've got the mental capacity to handle any situation and run an NFL offense smoothly. Like, there are no real deficiencies coming into the league other than, you know, some things we saw at the college level that we question. But from a physical standpoint, you check every box. Maybe size, like Baker Mayfield, and that's going to be the case here with Bryce Young. Maybe size is something that, you know, doesn't tickle your fancy, but outside of that, you check all the boxes. The difference is consistency. That's what stops a guy like Zach Wilson from being good. It's consistency. You can go out and have a solid game here and a solid game there and make some throws here and make some throws there that you say, okay, but it's not consistent. It's more bad than good. Dwayne Haskins could play. He wasn't awful. He was inconsistent. He makes some good throws here. You'd be like, hell yeah, Dwayne. And then he makes some throws where you go, bro, he's 5 yards away from you. Why do you need to throw it 422 miles an hour? Why? How can you miss that out route, bro? He's open. He's just 7 yards out of bounds. What are you doing? Got to hit the layups, right? That's the shit I'm talking about. At a bare minimum in the NFL, if you can hit the layups and the open looks, you'll be around for a very long time. The guys that ascend to that other level, when we start talking elite, those are the guys that can hit the contested shots. Those are professional bucket getters. The guys that can make tough shots, like Jamal Murray, right? Well, you just go, man, that I wouldn't advise most dudes in the league to take that shit, but he can make that. You know? JP, John Perez says, how would you feel about an NFL rivalry week? I saw the tweet you had, and personally, I love it. I mean, isn't that what week 17 really is? But it's at the end of the season, so half of the league is out of the mix by then, so it doesn't really mean as much. So if you were to do that, say week 8 or 9, which splits the season in half, I think it would make for good theater. I would love it. You just got to get the rivalries right. And the question is, are you going with historical rivalries or are you going with relevant rivalries? That's the real question. Because historically, Bears, Packers, Cowboys, and I guess Commanders, even though Washington, let's just call it Washington. Cowboys and Washington, Chiefs and Raiders. Those are historical rivalries that go back decades. Okay. But if we're talking right now, Eagles Cowboys is more of a rivalry than Cowboys Redskins. Chargers Chiefs is more of a rivalry than Chargers Raiders. Vikings Packers is a much better rivalry than Packers Bears. Right? But what constitutes a rivalry? Are we looking historical reference or are we looking relevancy? You can't confuse the two, and you can't try to mix and match the two. Either you go on historical or you go in relevancy. That's how I feel. Like the tweet that you sent me with the Fox graphic, they went historical and they went relevancy, and you can't do that. You can't have Raiders, Chargers, but then have Cowboys, Eagles, and Giants, Redskins, or Giants, Commanders. That's not how that works. Because if you're going to do Cowboys, Eagles, then you need to do Chargers, Chiefs, and you need to do Packers, Vikings. You understand what I'm saying? So you got to pick one or the other. You can't hedge your bet here. But I'd be all for it. Vincent Coe, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Vincent Coe. And you know what? JP, sorry about that. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Vincent Coe writes, Lou, what do you think about the idea of grabbing Richardson at 5? I hate to say it, but Not too sure about paying 35 to 40 million for Geno. I told you in the mock draft I had a dude pull the trigger on him at 5. I didn't love the pick, but when you put it that way, maybe it makes sense for you. You know, that's a little bit too rich for my blood, personally, for Geno. But Richardson at 5 is a little too rich for my blood as well. So you really picking from the lesser of two evils. So you got to figure out which one of those is that for you. I probably would just go with Richardson at 5, I guess. I mean, I don't think you winning shit with Geno anyway, personally. So why not go with the young fella and see what he can do? But I mean, he could be Tavares Jackson for your ass. Ha ha ha! I cracked myself up and ha 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 ha. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, I wouldn't love it, but I would get it. I would understand why you did it. But I don't love Richardson being a top 10 pick. I don't love him being a top, 15 pick. If somebody took him at 20, okay, knock yourself out. Good luck with that. But I don't think he should be selected in the first 15 picks of the draft, personally. 5 is really high for me. So we'll see what happens. Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Vincent Cole, who writes, do you have any your guy wide receivers in this draft so far? You know who I really think I like? I'm starting to take a strong liking to him. I want to watch some more. But I think I really like Rashid Rice. Rashid Rice out of SMU. I can tell you this much. I'm not a big Jordan, what the hell is his name? Out of USC. And the TCU kid, something tells me he's like a hybrid. Either he's Kevin White, or he's a hybrid between Kevin White and Laquan Treadwell, where he's not as slow as Treadwell, not as fast as White, somewhere in the middle, but he's not going to be able to get consistent separation. I got to watch more. I can't I can't speak candidly on the receiver position yet because I haven't done my due diligence there yet. By the end of March, I would have probably run the full gamut of the receiver position, and I'll be able to talk and speak really candid on those guys. But I think Rashid Rice right now, of all the guys, and I watched a lot of these dudes, but watching film is different than watching them play in a game. I can't stress that enough. I think, having watched a little bit of film on Rashid Rice, I think I have a greater appreciation for him. And I like what I've seen from him. So I'd say that's the guy right now. The Black Al B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Black Al Bundy writes, yo, Lou, speaking as a man who has a wife who's an avid traveler also, welcome to the club, my brother. LOL. I appreciate it, man. It feels like home, man. Feels good. Feels good. What's your take on Brian Flores becoming the DC for the Vikes? First of all, I love it. Shout out to Mike Tomlin for resurrecting that man from the dead, because if Mike didn't give him a job, he would have been blackballed. So, I know there's people out there that don't think Mike Tomlin's done enough for the advancement of black coaches in the NFL, but he just saved a brother. Okay. And to me, that's worth more than just giving an up and coming brother a chance. He saved a brother that didn't deserve what he got in Miami and saved him from being out of the league. So shout out to Mike Tomlin for that, first and foremost. That said, Brian Flores, this was the thing. And me and my dad used to talk about this all the time. Boss man for most of y'all. You never knew what you were going to get out of the Miami Dolphins offensively when Brian Flores was the coach. This is what you always knew you could count on. They about to play some damn good defense. To me, that is the greatest compliment that you can give a defensive-minded head coach, because that's his expertise, okay? When you played the Denver Broncos, you're like, I don't know what the hell you're going to get out of the offense. You might not get a damn thing from the offense. But you always knew they were going to play some damn defense, which means he's doing his job and he knows the hell he's doing. You didn't know what you were going to get on offense out of the Miami Dolphins when Brian Flores was there as the head coach. But you did know this. They was going to get after your ass defensively. And you were going to be in a dogfight. You getting yourself a damn good defensive coordinator. Now you just got to get him the pieces. Now, they had some pieces in Miami. Just like they had some pieces. He's got the same mentality as Bill Belichick, which is, hey, give me a star corner and one defensive lineman I can trust. I'll figure the rest of that shit out. Okay? Give me one dude up front that I can trust, one corner that can lock shit down on one side of the field. And it'd be nice if you can give me one smart safety, but I can deal without that shit if you give me the lockdown corner. I'll make the rest of this shit work. If you have that in Minnesota, you'll be fine. If you don't, which right now I can tell you got the defensive lineman. Okay. Do you have the corner? I don't think you do. So if you want Brian Flores to be at his best, you better go get him a shutdown corner. Because I know you don't have that in Minnesota right now. So I love the move. Flores know how to coach some defense. Going all the way back to New England. Then he got the job in Miami, and the party kept going. So he can coach up some defense. Give him the pieces, and he'll get it done. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Perez, writes, I posted your first video from today that Chase Young, CY99, was going nowhere, and he got some ignorant comments like, stop defending that bust. And all I did was laugh because our fans are so hard to reason with. You can't try to change people's minds when they have them made up. The only thing that is going to change their mind is action. You can talk until your face turns blue. That person that left that comment has already made up their mind that Chase Young sucks. And instead of them swallowing their pride and saying, all right, I want Chase Young to be good for the good of the team, they would rather Chase Young suck so that they can say they were right and have the defense suffer because of it just so they can prove a point. And I can never understand, like me and those types of people, we can't have conversations. We can't talk because that's not how I'm wired. I want to be wrong. I was wrong about Daron Payne. I wanted to be wrong about Daron Payne. He plays for my favorite team. Why would I want him to suck so I can say I told you so? That shit doesn't make sense to me. I'd much rather be wrong and say, damn, he's good. I was wrong, and have him help my favorite team than have him suck, say I was right, and our team sucks because of it. That shit doesn't make any sense. So you can't argue with that person. The only thing that's going to be able to win them over is Chase Young has to go out, and he can't just do it one year. He's got to do it 2 or 3 times. for that person to say, all right, I got to shut up now. he's going to stay on that he's a bus train for as long as he can ride it until the final stop. So save your breath. All right. So let's get to the last segment of the show. Y'all know what it is. Garbage time. So I know y'all heard the rumors about Jalen Ramsey potentially getting traded. And from all accounts, looks like this is going to happen. It's not a matter of if anymore. It's about when and where is he going to end up. So my first thought when I saw that, because, you know, you players are all about names, which is how you usually get the Pro Bowl, right? A lot of times these players have no idea how good, excuse me, or bad a player is playing. They just know name recognition. Jalen Ramsey is a name. And he's still better than probably 2/3 of the corners in the league right now. He's still better than them. But is he Jalen Ramsey from Jacksonville or even the early portion of his Rams career? Not even close. I would argue that he's about to hit the downturn of his career. And that last year was the beginning of that. He was not good for the Rams last year. He was getting cooked. A lot of penalties, you know, a lot of guys making plays on him. A lot of him looking at somebody and like, hey, where were you at? Bro, you Jalen Ramsey, you don't need my help, right? Why are you looking at me? You got cooked on that play. Don't turn around and point. He baked your ass. He scorched you, bro. I'm seeing Amon-Ra St. Brown and people like that recruiting him, and then people shooting back at Amon-Ra like, bro, don't nobody want to come to Detroit. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know if this is the same Jalen Ramsey y'all think it is. I could be wrong. And he could have just had a down year, uninterested, you know, disinterested rather in a Rams team that he just knew didn't have it. And he could have just been like, F it. Maybe a new destination reinvigorates him, and he goes right back to playing the kind of football that lends itself to him being in the conversation for the best corner in football. He was far from it in 2022. Where are some logical destinations for him where he could end up? I'm thinking to myself because if you're trading for Jalen Ramsey, you need to be close to winning the Super Bowl. Like that's not a we're rebuilding type of move, or we solid, we close to making the playoffs like Detroit. Like, I don't know if Detroit thinks that they're close to doing something other than making the playoffs, but getting Jalen Ramsey might help. But you're not winning the Super Bowl. I don't think, personally, even though I like what the Lions are building. What would be a great destination for him? If, first of all, do you think Jalen Ramsey is that guy anymore? And if you do, where's the best destination for him where he can maximize the back end of his career? Or maybe these final year or two of his prime before he hits the back end of his career. Would somewhere like Minnesota make sense? Now, again, I don't know. I'm take out of the equation money and all, because I don't know what anybody's cap situation looks like. Because Jalen Ramsey ain't cheap and he ain't free. So let's just remove that from the equation. where would be logical destinations for his services if he's still good in your estimation? Just looking at some teams that could use, we just literally had a conversation about the Vikings needing a guy, right? Ramsey would fit that description. Maybe the Patriots could use somebody like him. Belichick would know what to do with him. That's for damn sure. Because they lost J.C. Jackson, even though they got a young boy out of Arizona State last year, Jack Jones, that he might be really good. He might be the next up in New England. But they would know what to do with him. Bill would know what to do with him in New England. The Bills, I feel like I want to give Tre'Davious White a chance. When you're coming off of a major injury, you're not yourself right away. I want to see what because he wasn't himself last year. I'm gonna give him a chance to get right because they brought some young boys out there across from him, and I want to give him an opportunity to grow too before you try to start replacing. But the Bills' window is shrinking because you're losing parts. Because, like I said, you can't keep everybody. Once they had to pay Josh Allen, you got to start making some decisions. Like they had to choose between Matt Milano and Tremaine Edmonds. They chose Matt Milano, and I'm not saying it's the wrong choice, but you can't re-sign Tremaine Edmonds now. So they got to start making some tough decisions, some TDs. So that's why they went and got Von Miller, because they knew we got to go for it. The window's shrinking. Maybe they could use them in Buffalo. I definitely think a team like Cincinnati could use them. I mean, you putting Eli Apple out on the field. And while I love what Chidobe Awuzie is for them, seems like he gets hurt too often for me. And when you really need him, he ain't there. I actually like what Cam Taylor-Britt was doing towards the end of the season into the postseason, but you can't be relying on youngins when you're trying to win a chip a lot of times, which is why what the Bucs were able to do a few years ago was so impressive, because they did it with basically an entire secondary on rookie deals. That's hard to do, but they were getting after the quarterback too. So that helps a lot. The Steelers could use a guy like that, but I don't think they winning anything of note anytime soon. So I don't really know if that's a good fit for him. The Chiefs could use a player like that, but they can't afford that, right? I mean, I know I said take money out of the equation, but I mean, they can't afford to do that. That's why they always go to the scrap heap looking for somebody else's trash at corner, and then they draft their own dudes because they can't. When you spend the kind of money that they've spent on specific positions, Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, offensive line, they went out and spent money on Joe Thuney, and when you're doing those things, and they still got to pay Orlando Brown, like you can't spend money at corner too. Like you got to pick and choose. But that would be a great fit for him, honestly speaking. They could use a veteran in that secondary at the cornerback position in particular. They got a lot of youngest boys. The blind leading the blind out there at corner. Yeah, it ain't. I mean, obviously, a team like San Francisco could use him for sure. There's not a lot of contenders in the NFC, so most of the teams reside in the AFC that you view as contenders, where his services would be more than welcomed. Dallas always is going to be a team that pops up in any conversation. He would definitely be welcome there, but they don't have no bread for that shit. They barely have enough money for their own players. But San Francisco, Dallas, those would be places. Philadelphia is about to lose James Bradbury, you would think, but they got draft capital. They could draft a corner. I wouldn't even mess around with Ramsey. I'd just go get a young boy. They're in a position to do that. So, somebody, Abel said Miami or Green Bay. Yoshi said Niners. I already said Niners. So yeah, like those teams make a ton of sense. If you're the Rams, though, I'm not trading him to San Francisco. I'm probably going to ship his ass off to the AFC somewhere. I'm not helping the NFC team out. Now, beggars can't be choosers. And you're probably looking to get the best deal possible. But if things are equal or it's close, I'm going to ship him to an AFC team. If I still think he could play. This will be, to me, this will be the sign of, can he play or not? If they trade him to San Francisco, that means they telling you, hey, his ass is shot. He ain't that dude no more. It's the shit that Andy Reid used to do to Washington all the time. Here we are thinking we getting a steal. Oh, man. Andy Reid would give us all of his shit that didn't work anymore. You know, Jeremiah Trotter and Donovan McNabb and Alex Smith. He always gave us his shit that didn't work anymore. And we would gladly take it and be like, oh, shit, look what Andy Reid gave us. And he'd be like, dumbass. Got him again. Yeah, I think if they trade him to an AFC team, which I think more likely than not will be the case, he's still got good football left in him. If somebody in the NFC makes an offer to him and they trade him there, that could be a sign that I think he's washed. But we'll let you find that out for yourself. So we'll see where he goes. Sounds like he's going to be traded. The Rams made a bed. Look, they won a Super Bowl, so it is what it is. But we talked about this. They made their bed when they started trading away draft picks for the next 15 years in the first round. So now they got to lie in that shit. So now they're trying to find a way to dig themselves out of it. It's going to be tough. But this is a step in the right direction. I don't know what you're going to get back. What is good compensation for Jalen Ramsey at this point? Does he fetch you a first-round pick? I think you still could get a first for him, right? Not multiples like how it costed them, right? It cost them 2, right? Or did it cost them 3? Might have cost them 3. I mean, a swap and 2 additional, but I don't know. That's a good question. I don't remember. I guess I can look it up real quick. Rams, Jags, Ramsey trade. See what this ended up being. They got exchange for a 2020 first round pick, 2021 first round pick, and a 2021 fourth round pick. So two 1s and a 4. You're not getting that back, obviously. Maybe you'll get maybe you can get a 1 and like a 5 or something for him. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this very long but long overdue Louie T Network podcast episode. Thank you guys for joining me on this late night Louie escapade. I didn't plan for it to be this long, but y'all already knew what y'all was signing up for. You see me going live at 11 something at night, all bets are off. All right. So once again, I appreciate y'all. And I look forward to chopping it up with you guys again in the near future. Be on the lookout tomorrow. I'll be dropping a new episode of the Draft Prospects 101 featuring Deonte Banks, corner out of Maryland. And then we'll see who you guys select as the next person up in the series. So until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off, saying God bless. And as always, good night.